Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Elevate Your End Game. I am one of your two hosts, Cameron Nichols with Coach with Cam.
And I am Megan Wing with the Career Fulfillment Initiative.
Whoop,
Hello,
whoop.
everybody.
We are so excited to talk to you today. I'm just going to give a warning up front. I'm very passionate about this topic, so I might get a little bit fiery.
I love it.
In the most loving, best way, of course, because
Yes,
that's
of
just how
course.
we roll, right? But today we are talking about resisting reality. What exactly does this mean? Well, this whole topic came about because the last 2 to 3 weeks, I feel like this is literally all that I've been coaching on is resisting a reality, resisting emotions, avoiding them. Because essentially, when we are telling ourselves we shouldn't feel a certain way or that we shouldn't be thinking a certain way, we're resisting the reality because the truth is we are in that moment. You are thinking that way. You are feeling that way. So why resist that?
And I think that also happens with others. Like when we are wanting someone else to behave a way that we would like for them to behave, we are fighting with them to change them. So it's like,
Totally.
well, I wish that my it's like others in circumstances. So like today, I was taking out the trash and the trash bag ripped. And
That
I could
sucks.
have fought with that reality and I could have been like really upset by it because it was really frustrating. But at the same time, I was like, okay, like instead of resisting it and being like, that shouldn't have happened, instead, I was like, this did happen. What can I do to fix this now? You know?
Totally. Well, in just even just phrasing that, like I think a lot of people, because I see this in myself as well as with clients, and
Yeah.
Meg, you can tell me if it's the same, but it's like we just tell ourselves that I completely just lost it.
We tell ourselves about others that we want to change other people.
Oh, no, I remember. Okay. So we're like always asking ourselves, like, why? Right? Why me?
Yeah.
Why do I think like this? Why did this
Yes.
happen? And
Hmm.
it's like the why does not matter. It's not
Yeah.
about the why,
And I,
especially when it's others and circumstances.
Mhm.
The why does not matter. It's the what now.
I love that. The why versus the what now. Like that's something that I think is something really important to focus on. And I think that I tend to get into the like why when I'm thinking about myself. So
Yes.
as you know, like when we are as a life coach, I was like, what do I do again? I'm like, as a life coach, we end up creating our own content. And sometimes I get stuck or I get really nervous when I'm about to like present something or even do an Instagram live. Or like I told Kim earlier, like I'm presenting something. And I could go back and I could be like, well, why do I feel nervous to talk to people? And I could do a whole deep dive on some trauma that I experienced in childhood. And I could really get in there and figure out the nitty gritty as to why exactly I am the way I am. But as to Kim's point, it doesn't really matter. It's like, yes, okay, I'm thinking and feeling this way right now, but instead of fixating on it and feeling like it's this, because I think that what happens is if you identify with fear, if you are thinking like, okay, I'm scared to talk to people, and you have to get to the bottom of that fear and you find a deep, dark rooted thing that happened to you, it's almost like presenting you this huge, insurmountable problem that you have to solve because you've identified with the emotion, if that makes
Yes.
sense, you know?
Well, and I think that's what's really interesting about asking why and like going into trauma.
Yeah.
Like there's a specific genre of people who like work with trauma, right?
Mm.
Um, but trauma has become a very loose word lately.
Yeah.
I have some mixed feelings. Topic for another day.
Yeah.
But yeah, like when we really dig into the root and find out why, what benefit does that have?
Like it going back, like we do think that therapy and things like that to deal with trauma are really beneficial. Because I think that
Yes.
sometimes like it does take a little bit to process some things that happened to you in your past. So I'm not discounting that because I do think that that why brings about awareness. But
Yes.
it's like, okay, once you have that awareness, even just the awareness of like, I'm feeling scared right now, you don't have to dig deeper into why you're feeling scared. Instead, you can think, okay, so I'm feeling scared right now. That's some awareness. It's now whether we can question, okay, do I want to continue to feel this way? And choosing what way do I want to feel instead?
Yeah. Well, and like we hold on to those emotions so tight because, and then again, going back to like searching for the root, we
Yeah.
think that if we find the root, that it will just fix it,
Yes.
right? It's like
Yes.
weeding, right? You weed when you weed, you kind of want to make sure you get the root so that the weeds don't grow back.
Yeah.
But guess what? You're still weeding all the time.
Okay. So this reminds me of, did you hear the episode? So we are both life coaches certified at the life coach school. And there's an episode where Brooke talks about unproductive thought work. And I'll link it to
Yes.
the show notes. But when you were doing like this work, I was doing all this thought work to figure out why I was scared to reach out to people at the beginning of summer when I
Mhm.
left teaching and I felt like all this uncertainty and I felt like this like deep core, but I was like, oh my gosh, I am putting my self-worth in my work. I haven't done this in a really long time. Like, and I was freaking out because I felt like it was this huge problem that I had to solve. And I was doing all this unproductive thought work to try and figure out the root cause of what my deep problems were. And here's the way that she explained it. And it was either in this podcast or another one, but she was saying you can keep digging, but unless you know that you're digging to figure out your foundation, you're just going to be digging for no purpose. So for me, once I figured out, I was like, okay, my self-worth is in my work. I can stop digging in my subconscious. I can stop trying to figure out why and get to these like deep meaning of life questions and instead solve for that problem. Okay, my self-worth is tied to my work. And actually, like my voice is very hoarse because I was talking with some other amazing coaches this past weekend in a mastermind, and Brig Johnson, who's an amazing coach,
Oh, I
we were
love Brig.
talking. She's amazing. And so we were talking about like this big, I felt like this big surmountable issue that my self worth is tied up in my work. And she's like, no, she's like, your self worth is tied up in your work. That means you are human. Now, all you have to do is instead of letting that self worth seeking version of you drive your car, put it in the passenger seat every single time. And I was like, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. It's okay that it's there. It doesn't have to drive the show. Does that make sense?
Well, no, and I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because it is like we let it drive the car when there's absolutely no need. Like
Mhm.
it doesn't help.
Yeah.
And so it's like so so before we hit record, Megan was telling me about something she learned at this mastermind.
Yeah.
And will you share it? The whole
Yes, of
language
course.
piece?
Okay. So
This is amazing.
I think it has something to do with the way that we describe our feelings and our thoughts as we speak. So if you are feeling scared, what happens is in English, we're like, I'm so scared right now. I'm freaking out right now. So in Spanish, they have another word that goes in between. Instead of I'm scared right now, they say I'm feeling scared right now. That little degree of separation, that word of I'm feeling scared versus I am scared, it's like we are personifying fear and we feel like it is attached to us when we say I'm scared. Versus in the Spanish language, they say I am feeling scared. It's an experience versus an identity. And I think
Yeah.
that's the shift.
Well, and I love the fact that it's identity. Like when I'm coaching people, I will often tell them like that critical voice, the one that tells you you're not good enough, you're not doing it right, the one that tries to keep you stuck.
Mm,
Like it's basically just the primitive brain that's trying to protect you and spend less energy. I like to think of that as a completely separate identity. Like think of it as your toddler self,
mhm.
right? Because you're not going to yell at a toddler
Yeah.
for talking about something that they don't fully understand,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You're going to be loving and compassionate and explain to the toddler to help them learn. So
Mm.
essentially, when you do that and you talk to it as a separate entity, you kind of bring down your nervous system so that you can think with your prefrontal cortex. And that puts you in the driver's seat.
I love that because I think it is all about just understanding how to get yourself back in the driver's seat. Now, when we're thinking about our reality, another like the way that we're experiencing reality, we touched on how we want to change others and circumstances. We want to change ourselves. So we get into this like deep thought spin of who we are and why we are the way that we are. The other thing that I've realized is when we're resisting reality, another way to say your reality is the present. So if you're thinking about the present in each moment, when you're resisting reality, it means that you're stuck in one of two places. You're stuck in the past or you're stuck in the future. And that's what a lot of monks actually, when they are talking about meditation, the purpose of meditation is to bring you into the present, to bring you into the present moment. Because in the moment, you can't feel fear and pain or sadness because all of those things are experiencing because of what you're thinking about the future or what's happened in the past. When you are present, fully present, it means that you are fully experiencing just the moment that is, which is so cool.
Well, and I love that. And maybe you can help me explain this a little different because what
Mhm.
I'm about to say slightly contradicts about what you just said
Yeah.
in the sense of experiencing that emotion in the moment.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think that is part of resisting the reality is resisting that emotion that is there in the present.
Yeah.
And so that's why like we grew up and no one really taught us how to handle emotions, how to deal with emotions. Essentially, society has taught us to reject them, resist them, avoid them, push them down, push them away. And I think that's kind of why we're at the present state of the world that we're in,
Yeah.
is because we don't know how to handle those emotions. So, yeah, what's your take on that?
So my take is more so I was thinking more like fear of the past or shame from the past, fear of the present or of the future. That's where I was more so thinking. But I think you're so right. In the moment, you do need to feel and process your emotions all the way through in whatever moment that you're feeling things. So I was more so thinking when you are trying to get to a place in the future or trying to erase your past, that's more when you're
Gotcha.
resisting reality. But in the moment, like you can be feeling shame and feel it all the way through in this present moment right now. And I think that's what makes you enjoy your reality a lot more. Now, and more so, what I was thinking is like when you're thinking about the future or the past, it's compounding the negative emotion
Totally. No,
instead of just feeling
I
it.
agree with that. And I think,
That
like you
was a good
said,
catch, yeah.
processing it in the moment and
Mhm.
like feeling it all the way through, again, that's not what we're taught. So shameless self-promotion here. You guys head on over to coachwithcam.com because I just released a couple weeks ago, like how to process an intense emotion in just 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a guided meditation that like walks you through so that you can actually feel and process that emotion all the way through, Megan just
Yeah.
talked about.
No, and y'all go and listen to it. It is so, so good because I think that's one of the things that keeps us from reality.
Yeah. Well, and like think about think about feeling stuck, right? You and I have both talked about feeling stuck at different points in this journey. And it's like, what if being stuck wasn't a problem?
Mm.
Like, what if being stuck is kind of what forced us to be in the present moment to
Mm.
evaluate our what next
Oh, I love that.
versus the why are we stuck?
The what
Because
next?
that's where we I mean, that just gets us deeper in the quicksand, right? Why am I stuck? Why am I stuck? How do I get unstuck?
Yeah.
It's like, be stuck. Let your emotions be a trigger for you to name the emotion that you're feeling at that moment and then start describing it. Drop into your body. Where do you feel it? What part of the body are you drawn to? All of that. That's what
No.
helps you stay in the present moment.
Mhm.
Because if you're resisting emotion, you're not present.
Yeah.
So you have to feel it to get into a clear headspace so you can actually acknowledge what's happening around you and make the changes
Exactly.
that you want to. Like, what's next? What's the next step?
Mhm. That's brilliant, Cam. And so to recap, essentially everything that we've talked about is like you'll know when you're resisting reality when you don't feel comfortable where you're at in the present moment. Now, that could be because you're sitting in the past, because you're focusing on the future too much, or because you're not willing to sit with your emotions in the present. But you don't have to get into the deep nitty gritty of while you are resisting the present moment. You just have to solve for the reason why you're not resisting in the present, either processing your emotion or separating yourself from your thoughts, and then moving forward to figure out, okay, what are my next steps in this present moment, not this 2 months from now in the future. So, yeah, we hope this helps you to get back into the present and not only res- allow yourself to experience reality, but actually get back into loving your reality. Because I think that's one of the things that, like, I can always want to get to the next level, to the next stage of my life. And that makes me resist
Mhm.
what is because I'm thinking there's going to be better than here. But what if you could love today in all of the 50-50 that it is and experience and drop into that right now? That's going to help you actually experience and enjoy your reality.
It's absolutely magical. And I also just want to take a moment and just say how freaking amazing Megan is at communicating and talking about concepts and doing the recap. And like,
No.
we've been talking about her business and like different strides she's made. And like, yeah, I'm just so proud of you. And I'm so excited to be able to get to do this work with you.
Me too.
And that shit needs to be made public. So
Oh,
here you go. It is now public.
thank you, Cam.
But
I
that is
love
all we
you.
have for you today.
Yeah.
Remember, as always, shining bright gives others permission to shine as well. Take care, everyone.
Bye. Okay, I'm going to hit end recording on my end.